morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. This show is being recorded for Sunday, December 24th, 2023, effectively Christmas Eve. Want to wish everybody a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you're celebrating. Hope you have just a joyous occasion with friends and family, and it meets all your expectations. As always, these shows are recorded for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes directly through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history, so for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, all those things help the channel. And as always, we really appreciate everybody that uses the super thanks and the donation tabs. We see all of you, very helpful. Thank you very much for really weighing in that area. Also, for the nose need to reach me, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. Right now, I think there are some dates left in March, and then April, May, have some dates according to what the current schedule is. So everybody, you're welcome to take a look there. So thanks again for joining us today on this show. I thought I'd start off just real quickly. You know, we always like to highlight, we do predictions every week as to what's coming up the following week, just to kind of show how timing works with the Akashic Records and working with a lot of angelic teams on the other side that are trying to help. And there were two big breakthroughs that came through. One was there was a breakthrough in fusion technology this week. I've talked about the breakthroughs coming in fusion technology for quite some time. And this week, I think it was Lawrence Livermore Labs, they successfully aimed something like 200 lasers at a small element the size of a peppercorn, and 3 times were able to replicate what's called fusion energy. And these breakthroughs are important because that will provide almost limitless clean energy for the universe, for the world, for humanity. So, and eventually way down the road, they'll get into what's called cold fusion technology, but big fusion breakthroughs that occurred at Lawrence Livermore Labs, talked about it many times on the show. So we're really on the cusp now of seeing that. The other thing we talked about last week was also the new information coming out via phone calls from 45 that would demonstrate more threats to our democracy. And we saw that come out in, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday of this week. I'm trying to remember now the dating, but where in Detroit, 45 is on record and being recorded at trying to tell the Detroit officials how to not certify the election. So that came true. What we try to do is we try to put out a lot of what we call these hot off the presses on our community board on the YouTube channel, so we can always align it to the specific time code when it was said, and also link it to a news article, CNN, MSNBC, Reuters, whatever news article seems to fit. But we always try to kind of keep everybody up to speed so that we're all kind of on the same page, so to speak. So wonderful. Happy to share all those kind of breakthroughs with you and the things coming up. So this week we pulled questions, as always, from our community board on our YouTube channel. I think there were some 300 questions this week. A number of questions range from 300 to 400. And I think this week we have now 51 questions to share with you. My wife goes through them, hand picks a lot of the questions then that she thinks will be of the most value and helpful to everybody at large. So with no further ado, let's get going on this show today, being recorded for Sunday, December 24th, 2023. 51. Does Dorothy Ann Richards, Democrat, 45th governor of Texas, have anything she'd like us to know about current Texas politics and the direction of the immigration situation happening in the country right now? You know, I get almost right off the bat, she's very ashamed of the way the GOP and the Texas government are handling everything in Texas, including the immigration problem. I also get almost immediately here that she's working very closely with like John McCain. I know John McCain was out of Arizona and a Republican, and Richards was a Democrat. I think she was governor from 1991 to 95, 96, something like that. But it looks like they're working together to try to bring out truth so that everybody can see. And I'm also getting from Ann Richards that as we get into 2025, it looks like Texas will become much more purple, so much more lenient, away from kind of, let's say, the radical GOP things that are going on there, and become much more purple, more democratic. So good for her. So she looks like she's very active on the other side and working closely with John McCain. So that's interesting. Number 50 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. Thank you and happy holidays. What will be the consequences of the UN placing Iran as chair of the Social Rights Forum? And what will be the UN's place in the future? I get this is all part of a normal rotation. So I know that a lot of times people will look at news articles and say, like, why would the UN, let's say, put Iran as head of the social forum? But I'm getting this is almost like a matter of policy and rotation among countries. So outwardly, I don't think it has the intent that people thought that it did. But certainly Iran has been very, very difficult on a lot of human rights, and we see it happening all over. It's been a terrible place, a lot of atrocities occurring. The farther the future of the UN goes, I think it's going to be a very stable, important force for the world for many, many decades to come. So the UN will still continue on. But whoever asked this question, it looks like it's part of kind of a normal rotation. Number 49 in the countdown. Will we be surprised by the names being released from Epstein's list? Well, surprise is kind of, a relative term. I won't be surprised. There's a lot of congressmen, governmental officials on there, stars, entertainment people, even some presidents, believe it or not. So, but yeah, I mean, I think some people will be surprised, but this is a list that's been gathered over a lot of years. And so I think some of the public will be surprised. I definitely see it's going to be a cross section of a lot of people that are, in some cases, at the upper echelon of society across the world. 48. Hello, Sterling, Lynn, and team. What is the fate of Taiwan? And will the U.S. help them defend their sovereignty against an invasion by China? I do get that China is going to try to exert some more physical force over Taiwan as we get out into 2024. Now, this looks like could be incursions or whatnot, and naval warships back and forth. Something going on here as we get middle of 2024. U.S. will be very involved, as will several other countries in defending Taiwan. There's some conflicts coming up here around the middle of 2024 is what they're showing me. 47. By the way, just reminding me, so China is not going to be successful in taking over Taiwan, but those conflicts are coming up. 47. Hello, Sterling. Paul Wellstone was a beloved progressive politician in Minnesota who was considered to be good and fair, truly working for the people. In 2002, he died in a plane crash along with some of his family members, campaign staffers, and the pilots. Though it was announced as an accident, many wonder if there was something more to the story, especially because of how popular he was in our state, as well as the momentum he was gaining nationally. What happened to the plane? So Paul Wellstone. I get this is like pilot error. So it's like the plane stalling, not enough forward airspeed. There's like an airspeed problem here, and the plane stalled. So I don't see anything nefarious here regarding the demise of the passengers on that plane. I keep hearing stalling and airspeed and pilot error. And that can happen sometimes if the instruments aren't working properly or something of that nature. But so nothing nefarious here, no. 46. Nice, got a cold chill. Wow, which is always a confirmation. I think, wow, I think his family must be around, and Paul must be around. It's interesting. That'll happen sometimes. If I talk about people from the other side, they'll step in very close to me and give me a cold chill. So I think he's happy that information is getting out there. 46. Hi, Sterling. I've heard you say that we cannot reincarnate as extraterrestrials. However, I had a reading in which I was told I came from Sirius B, where I had 50 lifetimes, Palladian 300 lifetimes, 200 lifetimes as an Arcturian, and so on. Were these all prior to Earth incarnations or simply false information? Well, principally, if you started out as an extraterrestrial, many times you're going to have many extraterrestrial reincarnations. Very rare if your soul started out as Homo sapiens sapien or some other type of soul. Very rare that you're going to reincarnate as an extraterrestrial. In some cases, it does occur, very rare cases, if those individuals are meant to help in a very specific way down here on Earth. So regarding the reading you had, I don't see this. Whoever asked this question, I don't see all the hundreds of lifetimes as other extraterrestrial beings in your life path. So I guess I would chalk that up to maybe not the most accurate information. But whoever asked this question, looks like you've been Homo sapiens sapien for hundreds of reincarnations. That's true. 45. Hi, Sterling and team. In our community, they are installing fiber optic internet literally in our yards. Is this, like they say, better connection or something else going on, meaning like keeping track of people's lives? No, this is just advanced infrastructure going in to help a lot of people. This is all part of infrastructure programs going on. And here again, nothing nefarious regarding putting in a lot of high-speed cable or fiber. Whoever asked this question, it's all part of, actually, it looks like it's all part of the infrastructure bill that the Biden administration put through. 44. Hi, Mr. Sterling. I'm curious about the Turkish MP Hassan Bitmez, looks like. He had a heart attack and died right after his speech warning Israel of Allah's wrath. Is that a coincidence or a reply from up above? No, I mean, I get this is on his life path blueprint, but this is almost like coronary artery disease, heart disease. So something very long term going on with him. This is not, I don't see this as having a direct relationship to the speech. Looks like it was his life path, his exit point. And, all of our life paths interconnect. So I'm sure it had some sort of effect on people before he passed, his speech. But it looks like it's coronary artery disease for me here. 43, and not a message from above is what my team's reminding me. 43, happy holidays, Sterling and team. Should we be concerned about the animal disease, chronic wasting disease, a fatal disease that has affected many deer and similar species and is rapidly spreading across North America? It is caused by prions, a type of transmittable pathogenic agent which cannot be easily destroyed and lives in the soil. There is no cure and is fatal. Is there a risk of chronic wasting disease jumping to humans, as there are already some human prion diseases? And is there research being done on similar diseases to stop them from spreading? How concerned should we be regarding these diseases? I get this will never jump to humans, what they're telling me. My team says it's never jumped to humans. But what I do get is this has been around since like the 1960s or something. This is like not new. This disease has been around for quite some time. So not to worry. It looks like there are breakthroughs coming in the medical industry to help with these diseases. Not the least of which CRISPR looks like it's going to be helpful in designing some sort of vaccines for animals or something. So I don't see this, my team saying it's never going to jump to humans, this particular disease. 42, will the medical field, specifically surgical pathology, ever get away from using formaldehyde, or other fixatives that are harmful to the environment, as well as stop using single-use plastics? I get there are new natural formulations coming up here, organic, that will take the place of formaldehyde. I'm getting that. So in a few years here, there's new organic substances. Regarding plastics, a lot of development going on here regarding biodegradable plastics, and ones that there are now advanced forms of algae that will degrade them. So all this is coming just a few years here. But yeah, it looks like there's replacements coming for both of the items, whoever asked this question. 41, will there be any significant earthquakes in Southern California in 2024? Yeah, unfortunately, it does look like as we get towards the third quarter, towards the end of 2024, it looks like at least something close to a 7.0 in Southern California around the Bakersfield and China Lake area of California. So there's some sort of a fault line there. It looks like it's going to give way. So I would ask, everybody that's in that area, be prepared and have evacuation strategies, make sure you have at least a couple of weeks worth of food or water. But yeah, it does look like there's a significant earthquake coming up. Yeah, and this is, we're going to see a series of them across the world. I mean, we see what's happening right now in Iceland with the volcano. Things have happened in other places in the Middle East. Remember, a lot of this follows what's called the Ring of Fire. Those are volcanoes in ocean areas here. So, this is almost like a domino effect as these earthquakes kind of go around the world. They kind of impinge on each other. So it's to be expected. Everybody just be prepared. Number 40. Will the Supreme Court affirm Colorado's ruling that 45 committed insurrection and that the 14th Amendment applies, disqualifying from the election? I think part of this was ruled on this week already. The Supreme Court, I think, pushed this down to an appellate court. That is whether 45 could be held liable. Yeah. So I just am asking this question. Let me see. This woman asking about the Supreme Court. Oh, Colorado's ruling insurrection, the 14th Amendment. Sorry, this is Colorado's. I know what's going on. I was thinking about the federal case. Yeah, it looks like to me. So this is the interesting part. I've always seen that 45 is going to be on the general election ballot in all states. I do see that in primary elections in certain states, like Colorado, looks like he will be kept off the primary election ballot, but he'll be on the general election ballot. They'll go to all states. So this question was here: will the Supreme Court affirm Colorado's ruling at 45 committed? Yeah, it looks like they're going to allow the state to make the decision. I keep getting that they may not be on the primary election ballot in Colorado. So it looks like in some respects, the Supreme Court backs them up. But the same token here, the Supreme Court is not going to keep 45 off the general election ballot. So a little bit of a refinement here in the answer. 39, I had a dream about a deceased, mentally ill family member being in a hospital-like setting on the other side. Do these kinds of hospital settings exist on the other side for the mentally ill, those dealing with addictions, etc., so they might heal and learn from their earthly experiences? No, this is not the case. We actually return to very healthy bodies. You can actually see yourself on the other side in almost a human form. A lot of people show themselves in a human form, might take 20 years off their life. They look a certain way. As part of your life review, you go through a lot of the things you experience, a lot of the things you want to learn when you were down here. But you don't go through another, let's say, asylum or mental hospital or something of that nature. You do go through a life review. You get restored to perfect health, your unique soul. You get everything comes back to you in a very loving environment, a very inclusive, very perfect, all-encompassing image and state when you cross over. So you don't go. I think this person's asking about whether you go if you hospital-like setting. No, it's not really. No, it's not a hospital-like setting at all. No. 38. It was reported that most of the recent threats to Jewish synagogues have come from overseas. Which countries are behind these threats, and is the purpose to sow discord in the U.S.? I see nearly all the threats that are happening are locally homegrown. Now, it doesn't mean they aren't influenced by overseas, but it looks like they're all homegrown local entities or factions that are creating a lot of this violence. The anti-Semitic problems are going on, the violence associated with it. So I don't see, my team doesn't see, let's say, direct interfacing of offshore groups that are then transplanting over here to cause a lot of this. But it's all locally homegrown, a lot of it, which is terrible. It's terrible, but influenced certainly by what's happening in the world. So many of these are what I would call lone wolves. Many are lone wolves. 37. There are some who say, do not go into the light when you die, or you will just get caught up in the cycle of reincarnation here on Earth. What does happen if you choose not to? Are you stuck on Earth as a ghost? You can go to other places in the galaxy universe. So we all go through the light in the tunnel. There's no problem with that. You're not stuck in any kind of reincarnation cycle. You have a lot of free will when you cross over. If you want to come back, you can. Many people choose to come back. You're not stuck on Earth. You do cross over. Some people may take a little bit more time crossing over, but nobody's stuck. And going into the light is just part of the passageway into the next dimension, into the heaven dimension. So it's all very normal, and so there's no truth in don't go into the light, that kind of a thing. 36. Hello, Sterling and team. Was Mars previously occupied by inhabitants? And if so, did they destroy their planet with nuclear weapons? And if so, is that why the ETs are preventing nuclear catastrophes here on Earth? Well, yeah, Mars was destroyed by a lot of battles among some extraterrestrial species and some other types of, I'll call them humanoid type species. But it was the entire planet was destroyed based on war factions and some nuclear detonations. It's all very true. ETs, extraterrestrials, always understand the importance of keeping Earth safe. Earth is a very unique place in the entire galaxy, the entire universe. It's our universe overall. It's a place where people really do learn lessons. It has a lot of combinations of love and hate and fear and things that don't exist in other planets, other other galaxies. So extraterrestrials do try to guard against it. But it's not so much that the fact that Mars was taken out by a large nuclear war-like event. That was, for some reason, that was all part of the way that Mars was supposed to be handled. And I'll speak to that later on in some other shows, but Mars now is going to be inhabited by many, many cultures, including individuals from U.S., Earth, a lot of world countries. There are scientists right now going back and forth to Mars. It's not very well publicized, but they're hitching rides, if you will, among extraterrestrial ships, motherships. Yeah, so it's all coming, but there's an evolution happening here around Mars. But yes, it got destroyed, and that's not the sole reason why extraterrestrials are watching over Earth. 35. When we arrive in the afterlife and observe the many thousands of souls in our spiritual family, do the souls look like people or light orbs or something else? Well, in many cases, they all look like people, like you do here on Earth. They show themselves in a human form, might be somewhat translucent, but people seem to like that. It's comfortable. I do see occasionally when somebody has an extremely bright, call it, when you're very high spiritually, and you've actually gone through a lot of lifetimes. Sometimes you can look extremely bright. You still look like a human. You have a kind of a human outline, but sometimes that image is so bright it's blinding you. So it's like similar to overexposure with a camera. So you're not just a light being, but you can actually see a form there. And that's true for a lot of apparitions, even come down to Earth. Now, some individuals are not highly evolved, or it takes practice to show yourself as a full apparition on Earth. And that's why a lot of times when people first cross over, they show themselves to family as orbs, that kind of thing. I usually have a lot of angelic activity on these shows. You can see the orbs sometime behind me. I don't see them right now, but a lot of people call out the orbs that come through the show. Those are higher angelic beings, but they're doing that very quickly just to kind of show you they're around. But anyway, you really do see people in kind of a human-like form and an extraterrestrial form on the other side, even though it might be a little more translucent looking. 34, will the Secret Service be called to task about the lack of protection President Biden when the car hit his motorcade? I don't pick up any Secret Service problems with that. I pick up, this is like a real accident. It's like a drunk driver or something. And this is something, the motorcade goes through a lot of heavily populated areas. And so the Secret Service accounts for these kinds of things. But this is purely an accident, and looks like actually all the systems were in place to protect the president. So I don't see the Secret Service being called to task at all. 33, hello, Sterling and team. It's been said that Prince William will succeed King Charles on the throne, but Prince George will not succeed Prince William. Is this because the monarchy will cease to exist, or is it possible that something happens and Prince Charlotte will become queen? Now, I've read on this a number of times. I see that gradually over the next 1 to 2 decades here, the monarchy is going to start to slip out of prominence and not be that prominent. So that, my team's always said, that's why when we see Prince King William comes in, that'll essentially be like the last king. The monarchy is going to start to really go by the wayside and lose its prominence around the world. And so it's part of an evolution of humanity and what's important and how people view monarchies and their place in history and their place in current lives, that kind of thing. So there's a slippage and a shift away from the monarchy, and that's why I've always seen that that George will not become king. Looks like that William will essentially be one of the last kings in that area. 32, do you see a time when we could vote securely online? If we can bank securely, why can't we vote that way? Well, by the 2028 election, we will be voting online. It'll be used a lot of blockchain technology. It's the same, what they call distributed ledger technology that's used for for cryptocurrency right now. And I know people, cryptocurrency can have a bad connotation for a lot of people, but the technology behind it, the blockchain technology, what they call distributed ledger, is actually highly secure. So that's going to be integrated along with supercomputers, for the back end. So there will be online voting, even mobile voting by the time we get to the 2028 elections, what I'm being told. 31, would your guides consider the matter of the missing Russian intelligence binder? Was it sold? Is it in unfriendly hands? What will be the possible consequences? Well, I get a copy of all the contents was made. It was distributed overseas, offshore. Russia has a full copy of it. There is the original copy I've seen is still here in the States. And oddly enough, my team said it's still underground in Mar-a-Lago. So actually, in some respects, 45 has some sort of control over the binder still. And I'm getting it's underground. So maybe this place has not been looked at. But yes, and so the consequences are the U.S. government, federal government's already known now for quite some time, year, 2 years, that this information was compromised. It only just kind of came out to the public in the media, but they know it's been compromised. So the U.S. government and a lot of the Secret Service and CIA, they've made a lot of changes to their structure and operations based on the leakage of all this information. It's very unfortunate, but more details are going to come out very soon. Absolutely. Okay, 30 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. 11 years ago, I was not in the hospital with my husband the night he died. I deeply regretted it until I received an intuitive message this week. I felt that I was with him, but in spirit form. The message was that he would not have let go as easily if I'd been physically with him. Is this true? It's certainly true. Very common, by the way, for individuals just before they pass, right around their passing time or just right after, to make the rounds and communicate with family, let them know they're okay. It's also additionally true that a lot of our birth angels will not allow you to exit if a lot of family's around. Now, that may not sound odd. There are individuals that are with their loved ones when they pass. But more often than not, I see situations where family members have been in hospitals, let's say 24/7 for 2 weeks straight with a loved one. Then they all leave at some point to go get a coffee, and that 15 minutes they're gone, their loved one transitions. So not uncommon. Your birth angels want to save you some of the grief of the actual passing event. All depends if it's on your life path to experience it with them. But very common for loved ones to come around. So I validate this person's experience with their loved one and the fact that very normal to have them pass when you're not around. 29, happy holidays, Sterling and team. GLP medications like Ozempic and Wegovy seem to be miracles for weight loss and the treatment of diabetes and metabolic diseases. People share that it almost completely stops food noise and cravings. Are these medications too good to be true? Will these medications largely solve many Americans' unhealthy relationship with food? So many of the medications, I first have to say I'm not a doctor at all, so I'm going to qualify with that. But many of these medications have been used for many years for diabetic problems. They've been used to treat diabetes. Now, they've only now just recently kind of gone larger scale for more weight loss applications. That's all very true. I would tell everybody you have to proceed with caution because some of these drugs are being used in excess. They're not all bad, but it's like moderation in all things in life. So I tell everybody to be cautious. It looks to me like as we get out a few years here, there's going to be some additional refinements in these drugs, and they'll be available to the masses in some respects in the form of pills. So there'll be something here coming up, weight loss breakthroughs. So right now, you have to proceed with caution, but they do have a history of being used for many years already, something 10 years maybe or longer. My team's saying to treat diabetic conditions. So it's not all brand new, not all of them are brand new drugs. 28, good morning. Does the James Webb Telescope take pictures of extraterrestrial spacecraft? Absolutely. There's many pictures already in government archives of extraterrestrial craft that made them look like very large meteors or very long cylindrical ships. Some have been leaked to the press. By and large, a lot of them have not. This will all be shown when we get the full disclosure within a few years here of extraterrestrials. But yes, James Webb Telescope itself already, and that's hasn't been online that many months here. I forget what the actual launch date was now. Maybe it was a year now. But anyway, that particular telescope has already shot a lot of pictures of extraterrestrial ships. 27, love your show. Does the one source show favoritism? No, because everybody is part uniquely of the one source, the one force. It's like a drop of water in the ocean. So you can't, it's almost like showing favoritism to yourself. We're all part of one and the same. So no favoritism. 26, hello, Sterling. Would you please describe how our higher self communicates with us? How is communication method different from receiving messages from spirit guides and angels? Well, first off, your higher self is you. A lot of people somehow separate that discussion. Your complete soul being, everything in your soul DNA, who you are, that is you. So whenever you're communicating with your angelic team, that is you, your spiritual self communicating. It's one and the same. I think a lot of people use the higher self description. It gets confusing for some people. Now, I think whoever asked this question, is it different than receiving? How is communication method different from receiving messages from spirit and guides? Well, remember, it's really you communicating with your direct angelic team. We all have teams of birth angels and guides, working spiritual guides that follow us around and help us in life. Some of you work with them much more effectively and manifest much more clearly with them. Others wait to just get random messages, and that's what I call sporadic communications. But yeah, it's you. You're really, I never use the term higher self. It's you communicating and your soul communicating with your angelic team. 25, are guides specific to us or do they serve as guides to others? I have experienced interactions with many guides, but I also sometimes forget certain ones for ages and wonder if are they still with me? Well, it's interesting. A lot of angelic teams, they can be fairly large for people. And so, a lot of birth angels, a lot of working spiritual guides. It's very common for them to sometimes cross over and help other family members if you're not directly utilizing them at that time. They never really leave your side, but they help and complement, let's say, other family members, other people in your direct spiritual family, members, thousands of members in your direct spiritual family on the other side. But I do see angels and guides do very often help other family members if there isn't a direct need. Now, for example, you might have a loved one or a family member that's in a tragic accident or something. Maybe they're in prison somewhere in a foreign country. A lot of times our teams will lend a hand. So they do kind of cross connect and help where appropriate. It's very true. 24, hi Sterling, wishing you a good holiday. Here's a question for you. A few weeks ago, a new documentary aired about two princes who were killed by Richard III in the Tower of London. A historian believes she has found documentation that the boys actually lived and tried to reclaim their throne. What really happened to the two princes? Well, I get they were killed. So I don't know a lot about the story, but they were killed. And it looks like they were younger in age. So I don't know. I'm not getting the exact age here, but they were younger in age. So in their teens or early 20s. I don't know what this is, but they were killed. It looks like they were sons of Richard IV or something here. So they're asking about Richard III. But it looks like actually what I'm getting here is whatever article came out from somebody, whoever's asking this question, it looks like they'll be able to get the bones or retrieve the bones from these two princes and actually do DNA testing. For some reason, somebody's blocking like DNA testing, really going back and getting the bones from these two princes. But it looks like to me within a short period of time, year, 2 years, something here, they're going to retrieve the bones and be able to do DNA testing. So I'm getting it's all true. Whoever asked this question, and they're asking what happened to them. It looks like they're buried in the area that they were in. So if this is a specific castle or something, they're buried in that area. 23, my dog Molly is old and having health issues, unable to walk, decreased appetite, and so on. I should probably take her to the vet for her last visit. But I hear you saying everything comes here with a life plan, and when it's your time to go, you will go. How can I know if I'm interfering with her life plan? What if I should just want to wait and let her go when she decides she's ready? It's an agonizing decision. I don't want to get it wrong. Well, you'll always be led to the right time to say goodbye. And what I mean by that is that, remember, animals are here to teach us lessons. So they come from the angelic realm, not angels. They're here with unconditional love. They're here to teach you lessons like there is no birth, there is no death. But you'll always be led to the right decision to say goodbye. And so what I mean by that is either you get the feeling your angels and guides will talk to you. You may have a close family friend, a vet say, look, it is time, they're in pain, time to leave. I have to tell you, whoever asked this question, you always be led to the right decision. So not to worry about, but it is all part of your life lesson as well. And I understand the agonizing decision of whether to say put a pet down is very agonizing. I understand that, but work with your guides and angels. Look for signposts along the way, family, loved ones, vets, advising you certain things. And then look at your soul, get deep down, and you will be led to the right decision. But it's all part of a learning lesson for you. 22, has organized crime managed to get its hooks in any of the NFL football teams? Well, unfortunately, organized crime, right? Organized crime is really involved in all professional sports. Some of it's very well hid. I'm not saying it's all being run by organized crime, but there are organized crime elements across all elements of professional sports. I don't want to get too specific here, but yes, I mean that is part of the way a lot of things happen. Not all of it's being run by organized crime. I'm not trying to imply that, but there is an element there. It certainly works its way through a lot of betting scenarios online and various cities around the world. 21, will the Republicans be able to agree amongst themselves on any nominee at their convention? Yes, and I've always seen it's going to be 45. I've always seen 45. I think a year ago, 2 years ago now, whatever it's been, I always saw 45 is going to be the Republican nominee. He's not going to win the presidential election. Biden will be the next president again, and after the 2024 election. But I do see in the convention, it looks like they do nominate 45. 20, it is my understanding when you, Sterling, explain what hybrids are, they are half biological and half robotic, like the small grays. On the other hand, there are numerous psychics telling people they are hybrids, referring to two different ET species, like Palladian and Sirius. Can your team please clarify hybrids as far as blending two species in human form? Is it possible for a human to be hybrid? So first off, there's many meanings to the word hybrid. Hybrid means the combining of different elements to create a new element. There are technical or technology-based hybrids that pilot ships, like the small grays. That's all very true. They're combinations of technology and biological material. There are also human hybrids that are a blend between extraterrestrial biology and Homo sapiens sapien. And some of this occurs through transplanting of embryos. I don't want to get all the technology behind it, but many hybrids that are here on Earth were actually cultivated aboard motherships, extraterrestrial motherships. There's a lot of science behind this. So there are. I never see combinations. So let's say Palladian and Sirian or Arcturian, all those species combined into a hybrid. Those extraterrestrial species tend to stay unique, but some of their biological DNA is combined with Homo sapien sapien DNA, and some of those hybrids are here on Earth. So hopefully that helps. Okay, 19 the countdown. Do women of the ET races enjoy the same rights and privileges as the men are able to attain? Let me see this again. Do women of the ET races enjoy the same rights and privileges as the men and able to attain everything a male could? I'm asking if equality exists in the universe for females. It does. Part of the evolution of humanity and extraterrestrials are already millions and millions of years more highly evolved than Homo sapiens sapien. Is that equality among the species is taken for granted. So it's really, there's an equality there in terms of what all the species contribute. And if you look at a cross section of all the species, every time I work with them, I don't see a big difference between the way they treat male or female energetic extraterrestrials. A lot of equality there, but that's all part of their evolution. So if you look down what's going on down here on Earth, humanity is not that highly evolved. That's why you see a lot of that kind of difficulty and equality. 18, Sterling and Company. How can one tell if a remembered past life experience is theirs or another's from their soul group, as we are all linked together? Well, you'll never take in a past life memory from another individual. There'll always be your past life memories. I think that's the way the person asks the question. Past life experiences, theirs or another's. If you have a collective experience with your soul family, if you're involved in a major life event, that'll still be part of your past life memory. So you don't really take in the memories of other individuals. They're always uniquely part of yours, but it could be a collective experience, but then you still were part of it and you experienced it. So hopefully that answers the question here. 17 here. I'm looking at two different things here. 17. Hi, Sterling. What is your view of feng shui? People sometimes spend thousands of dollars on feng shui master to look at their house setup. Is there really spiritually energy behind it, or is it false? Feng shui is absolutely real. So, the way we move through life energetically, energy flows through everything we experience, every environment. So it's very true. There's a real science behind this going back thousands of years to how energy moves through environments. So, for example, where doorways are, where windows are, where mirrors are. It's all very true. Now, I don't want to speak to the fact that maybe some people charge exorbitant sums, but feng shui as a science is absolutely real. Now, what's interesting is that people that aren't familiar with feng shui will feel more comfortable in certain environments. They don't know why. Many times because maybe a feng shui expert helped lay out that environment. They feel much more comfortable in it. So it's absolutely real. Yeah. 16, are there other places in the universe that live in polarity like us on Earth and or have the beauty that we enjoy on Earth? Well, there are several planets in the solar system that come close to Earth, but for whatever reason, the way the universe was laid out, there are certain lessons of hate and love and fear that are only experienced here. And I don't know why the universe got laid out that way, but what I'm being told is that there are other planets and other solar systems that are similar to Earth. They even look almost identical to Earth, but just a little bit different in the way that the life lessons or experiences that people learn. 15, hi, Sterling and team. We have a curio cabinet in the corner of our living room. It has a collection of figurines and mementos in it. Since the beginning of the year, off and on, things in the cabinet move around. The items are moved in such a way that you can tell it's deliberate and it could only have been done from inside the cabinet. My husband and I are the only two people who live here, and he swears he doesn't ever go near the cabinet. Can you and your guides shed any light on who or what is causing the movement? This is a female family member. This is like a mother energy. So it's either direct mother or grandmother energy. This is a female energy that's trying to interact with you from your family. And it's kind of funny, but they look like they're a little meticulous. So this movement is something that not only they try and get your attention, but they feel like they're making like things better. It's like they want to move things around a different positioning. It's kind of funny, but it's a female mother energy. It's real. 14, will Arizona get help such as funding, border security, and immigration reform? There are so many individuals crossing through the border patrol and other agencies desperately need help. Yes, significant funding coming after the 2024 election as we get into 2025. I think there'll be some funding in 2024, but the mass amount of like new federal assistance and support and it looks like hiring a lot of extra people. All this is really going to take place as we get out into 2025 after the 2024 election. 13, wishing you and the team wonderful holidays. Question: if every living thing on Earth is part of the universe, are humans the only energies that have emotions? Are emotions specifically how we learn lessons during our soul contracts on Earth? All entities have emotions, even extraterrestrials, except for, the technology-based hybrids, small grays, no emotions there. But every entity in the universe actually has emotion, even plants, trees, animals, insects, believe it or not. Everything has an emotion. And insects you may find kind of funny, but even you can look for, even in the movie industry, there are what they call spider wranglers, and they actually train spiders to be actors. And it's kind of interesting, but every living thing on Earth and the universe has emotions. 12, love and greetings to you, Sterling and team. When my son was starting to walk and talk, he went out to the backyard one sunny summer day in Florida to play. We have lizards here, and he spied one on the fence. He got excited and said to me, pointing, it's like barley, spelled Barlai, barley. I said, that's a lizard. He looked at me in all seriousness and said, no, barley. I've always wondered if that was just a kid being stubborn or if this was remembering another word for them in some forgotten ancient language. You know what I get? This is actually the name of a pet lizard he had in a prior lifetime. So there's a prior lifetime connection for this animal. And whatever reason, he named that lizard Barley. So that's the connection. Very interesting. 11, good afternoon, Sterling. What does a tree get from me when I hug and talk with it? When a tree is cut down or falls down, can the tree still benefit from our touch and communication of gratitude? Well, yes, we touched on this in one of the prior questions here, but everything in the universe experiences emotion, including trees. Trees also communicate. They have a vast underground network of communication through their root system, so they actually communicate. So it's all, trees absolutely will communicate with you. You used to talk about in the early kind of maybe the hippie generation, the 60s or 70s, they used to talk about tree huggers. But interestingly enough, there's energy. Trees can ground you. They can help elevate you. They can make you feel better. You can, in turn, send energy to trees and plants. It's all very true. Yeah, it's all living things. 10, will 45's comments against immigrants at his rallies affect Republican voters to not vote for him in 2024? Will there be a backlash for his comments now? Yes, in many areas of the U.S., this is causing a push towards voting for Biden in 2024. And as I've said many times on this channel, President Biden will be the next president again. He'll be fully elected president in the 2024 election. 9, happy holidays, Sterling and team. My question is about a video I was asked to watch by a few of my family members. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it definitely gave me food for thought because the content was supposedly from a well-known hedge fund manager, David Rogers Webb. The video is called The Great Taking. He states that from his research over 30 years, that we will have a depression very soon greater than the one in the 1930s, and there is really no way to protect ourselves from it. I would appreciate any thoughts, feedback that you and your team have on this. Is there any truth to it? My team indicates that there's no truth to this assertion of a massive decline, not something similar to what we had in 1929, early 1930s. No. So my team's saying no truth to this assertion. And what they call this as the great taking, a depression very soon greater than no. As a matter of fact, my team's read on, a lot of the economy over the last number of shows here over many, many months. And, they've always said that there wouldn't be a recession. It would be a very soft landing for the economy. I have to go back and look at some of the shows where I talked about that, but it's now being proven right now today, even this week. The economy is going through a very soft landing, that there won't be a depression. So anyway, and the rates of inflation are way down now. I think they're about 3%, something like that. So anyway, no truth to this assertion. This is a little bit of fear mongering, unfortunately, and a lot of people get involved in it. 8, high sterling and team. South Africans go to the polls in 2024. Our wonderful country has been facing many challenges due to poor government and corruption by the African National Congress, the ANC, who are the ruling party. Will we see the ANC remaining in power, or will we see changes in government with improvements for the people of South Africa? Well, unfortunately, it looks like it's a continuation of the ANC and a lot of corruption, unfortunately. But it looks like one of the big reasons is very low turnout at the polls. This is important for every country. I do see in the next election cycle, so not the most immediate one, they're talking about, I think, 2024 here, but the cycle that comes after it, it looks like they'll be able to get a lot of corruption out of the government. But the next election looks like low turnout in the polls. Unfortunately, that's going to cause part of the problem. Okay, number 7, the countdown. Will there ever be a time when traumas stored in the body can be easily removed from our bodies? I know there are techniques being used today, but will there be something better or more efficient in the future? Well, it's interesting. I get from my team, many sources of trauma can be relieved by types of acupuncture. It's like the body stores certain traumas in certain regions. Now, obviously, there's big emotional components, there's physical components. But I'm being told to tell whoever asks this question that in many cases, forms of acupuncture can be very helpful in relieving kinds of trauma. Now, they're asking, will there be a time when trauma is stored in the body? The advanced forms of biofeedback are coming in a few years here using artificial intelligence technology and connections with the human body, biotechnology connections with the body. There's going to be helpful techniques coming up here. But whoever asked the question, I would say think about integrating some portions of acupuncture as well. It can be very, very helpful, as well as Reiki healing, both. So yeah, there's a combination of an answer here in terms of short-term versus longer-term solutions coming. But yeah, it's all coming. There'll be effective ways to relieve and release traumas, as they say, trapped in the body, areas of the body. 6, is Source our creator, the creator of all that is? Are there other systems that exist with different creators? No, my team says there's really only one source, one force that created everything in the universe. Everything in the universe aligns to it in some way, but there isn't another one source, one force to create everything. What's interesting is the one source, one force is infinite, and that's always a hard concept for individuals to understand, because there's infinite, no beginning, no end. It's omnipotent. It's everywhere. 5, hi, Sterling. Love your show. I have a pattern of attracting abusive people into my life. I have tried so many ways to correct the problem, including many years of therapy. Eventually, I discontinued therapy after my therapist became abusive and was arrested for it. Can you tell me what's causing this and how I can change it? Well, this is all part of life path lessons in managing self-love and personal power. There are really millions of people on the planet. It's interesting that in a very empirical way are down here to learn the power of self-love, loving yourself, how to give to others, and how to manage your personal power, so not give yourself away. So whoever asked this question, that thematically, that's one of the most important elements in that. So if you're attracting abusive people, in some respects, you're not completely standing in self-love, and you are giving away your personal power. So I would tell the person, kind of think about that, kind of take that in, and that's a good way to move forward in life and build yourself a much stronger foundation. 4, hi, Sterling. Was President Carter's longevity helped by extraterrestrials? Was he transported to one of their ships for medical work? Yes, President Carter, one of a select few numbers of presidents, has had very strong extraterrestrial communication, and they have helped him with his life and longevity. I don't get that he was ever pulled onto a ship, but he's had a lot of long-term communication with extraterrestrials, certainly significantly the last number of years after his presidency ended. A lot of communication and a lot of help with his health. 3, how do angels view human beings or human souls? Are there any who don't care or even look down on us? Do they ever put us on some kind of pedestal since our essence is made of source energy? Well, angels, guides, extraterrestrials, everything emanates from the one source, the one force. So, no, they don't look down on us. Extraterrestrials evolved over millions of years. This really speaks to the fact that they understand how everything goes together in the universe in a way that Homo sapiens sapien, humanity, does not. But no, they do not look down on us. They understand we're all part of the same one source, one force. All very true. And now we're down to number 2 and number 1 in the countdown. I always take notes beforehand. So number 2, do you see anything coming up this week? I do see some continued eruptions in Iceland, so be careful. But the eruptions that my team was talking about just a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, continuing, and then it's going to start to phase out like in another week. So something going on there. New peace negotiations for Israel, Palestine, and Gaza, with a lot of help in the back end behind the scenes from Qatar. A lot of money exchanging hands. But looks like this coming week here, we're going to start to see another, well, somewhat temporary ceasefire. Looks like it's coming. And there will be exchange of prisoners in Gaza, Israeli prisoners, and also some prisoners, or hostages, I should say, in Gaza. And then there'll be an exchange for some prisoners from Israel here. So yeah, it's all coming up. I do see some power outages along the East Coast, so be careful there. New earthquakes in the Indian Ocean region affecting Australia, New Zealand, but no major damages, but a lot of activity in that area. Absolutely. And number 1 in the countdown, do you have anything your guys want to share? Remember to make your passion your life's work and to not be afraid to take the risk. Good message for a lot of people out there that know what they enjoy doing, they know what their talents are, but are afraid to take the risk. So a quick programming note is that we will not be asking for questions for a show for next weekend, which will be New Year's Eve. Actually, we'll be doing the prediction show. So you'll see a show next weekend, next Sunday, New Year's Eve, but that'll be the prediction show. So do not look for a request for questions this coming week. Be a different type of a show next weekend. I'll also be doing a show with Linda G, the Comanche Psychic, on that New Year's Eve. You can find that on Linda's channel. As always, if you need to reach me, go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the Book a Session tab. Again, want to wish everybody happy holidays, a wonderful holiday season, Merry Christmas, whatever you're celebrating. I hope it brings all your expectations to light and love, and you have a wonderful time with family and friends. Remember, you're never alone. And I'm going to send out a lot of goodwill and tremendous love to you and your families. Take care. I'll see you again very soon.